Hey there, GCSE students, and welcome to this explainer. If you're gearing up for your religious studies exams, you've landed in exactly the right spot. Today we're diving into one of the most fascinating, and yeah, sometimes a bit complex topics in Judaism, the beliefs surrounding the Messiah and the Messianic age. Nailing this material is absolutely going to set you up for exam success, because getting your head around these concepts gives you a fantastic window into both traditional Jewish history and modern Jewish thought. We're going to break down the key definitions, dig into the ancient sources, and compare those different viewpoints so you can walk into that exam hall feeling super confident. Let's get into it.
The Messiah. It's a word you hear all the time, right? But I want you to just pause for a second and ask yourself, who exactly is the Messiah according to Jewish tradition? You might have some popular assumptions floating around in your head, maybe stuff you've picked up from movies or other religions, but what does Judaism actually teach? Well, unraveling that mystery is exactly why we're here today. By the end of this explainer, you're going to have precise, source-based answers to clear up any misconceptions and, of course, secure those top marks.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our clear four-part revision roadmap. First, who is the Messiah? Number 2, the prophetic job description. 3, Maimonides versus Reform views. And finally, the Messianic age.
All right, starting off with Section 1. Who exactly is the Messiah?
Now, if you get an exam question asking you to define the Messiah, this is the exact terminology you're going to want to use. First and foremost, the word Messiah literally translates to the Anointed One. In traditional Jewish belief, this is a very specific figure who is explicitly chosen by God for a monumental task. When we talk about traditional expectations, we're looking at the belief that this figure will be a male, kingly leader. So, not a supernatural divine being, but a human, a royal figure who has been anointed for greatness.
So, what exactly is this kingly figure's traditional job description? Well, honestly, it's massive. The traditional belief is that the Messiah will be a great political leader and judge. He's expected to literally rebuild the temple and bring all Jewish people back to Israel. Ultimately, this great leader and judge is expected to bring our current world to an end, transitioning humanity into a completely new, transformed era. Pretty big shoes to fill, right?
Moving on to Section 2, the prophetic job description.
So where do all these massive expectations actually come from? I mean, they don't just appear out of nowhere. Actually, here's a brilliant fact to drop into your exam essays. The Torah itself contains absolutely zero definite teachings about the Messiah. None. So where do Jews get these ideas? Well, because the Torah lacks clear instructions on this, passages that Jews believe are relevant have to be interpreted. These huge expectations come directly from the prophetic writings found in the Nevi'im, which you'll remember is a key section of the Tanakh.
Let's rapid fire through these specific scriptural expectations, perfect for your quick revision memorization. According to the prophet Isaiah, the Messiah will bring the exiles back from the nations. Ezekiel, he says the Messiah will end idolatry and bring peace to the nations. Micah tells us the Messiah will be a true descendant of King David. And Malachi states the Messiah will arrive completely unexpectedly. And this brilliantly illustrates how different prophets contributed all these different puzzle pieces to shape the overall image of the Messiah over the centuries.
But, here's the catch. Because these are prophetic writings, they're incredibly complex. The prophets can be interpreted in a bunch of different ways, which naturally leads to multiple views. You definitely want to emphasize this in your revision. Vague prophecies require human interpretation, and that means drastically different beliefs developed across different Jewish traditions over time. There just isn't one single unified view on this.
Which brings us right into Section 3, Maimonides versus Reform views.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that it's arguably the most crucial comparison for your exams. If you get an essay question asking you to evaluate different Jewish beliefs about the Messiah, this is absolutely the material you want to use. Notice the stark contrast here. On the traditional side, you've got the great Jewish scholar Maimonides. He explicitly stated that belief in the coming of the Messiah is one of the 13 core principles of Judaism. So for many traditional Jews, waiting for this specific individual figure remains absolutely central to their faith. But contrast that with Reform Jews. Many Reform Jews don't focus on a single rescuing figure at all. Instead, they believe that the good actions of humans, just everyday people doing good deeds, will be what actually brings about a messianic age of peace.
It's also really important to clarify that some Jews believe the Messiah won't be a supernatural being at all, but rather a human descended from King David who serves as a profound inspiration to everyone else. Furthermore, there's this really fascinating belief that in every single generation, a person is actually born with the potential to be the Messiah. Because there's this lack of crystal clear, definitive information in the Torah, a very strong, highly practical belief has developed in Judaism. The idea here is that humans should focus on the here and now. Rather than just passively sitting around and waiting for the Messiah to show up, the emphasis is heavily on performing good deeds today. It's about taking action to improve the current world we live in right now.
All right, let's move to Section 4, the Messianic Age. So whether it's brought about by a kingly Messiah or the collective good deeds of humanity, the ultimate end goal is the same, the Messianic Age. But what exactly is this era? Well, it's defined as a future time of peace on earth, where there is absolutely no violence, no hunger, and no crime. It's literally a future paradise. And traditionally, the very first steps to kicking off this magnificent age include the coming of the Messiah and the resurrection of the dead. Just keep in mind, much like the Messiah, there are no direct references to the Messianic age in the Torah, so once again, scriptures from the prophets are interpreted to figure it out.
To truly understand just how profound this peace will be, we look to the prophet Isaiah. He describes the Messianic age as a time in which the wolf shall live with the lamb, and in which the lion, like the ox, shall eat straw. So the crucial point here is that Isaiah is describing an absolute, almost impossible level of peace.
Think of it through this simple analogy. It's super helpful for your exams. Imagine absolute peace where natural, bitter, biological enemies, like a predator wolf and a prey lamb, can literally sit down to share a space or a meal without any harm whatsoever. The most deeply ingrained violent instincts of the entire natural world are completely neutralized. That's the sheer, mind-blowing scale of the peace expected in the Messianic age.
But, despite having these beautiful analogies and ancient scriptures to study, Jewish tradition also acknowledges a very humbling fact. The world to come is ultimately beyond human understanding. We can use texts and analogies to try and grasp it for our exams and for faith, but the true nature of this future paradise, it really just remains completely beyond our current human comprehension.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative question to really solidify your understanding of those differing Jewish views. Think about the stark difference between Maimonides' strict principle of waiting for a traditional, kingly figure to arrive versus the Reform view of acting right now, doing good deeds to bring about peace ourselves. So, here's the question. Are we waiting for a savior, or, through our own actions, are we the ones we've been waiting for? Keep that dynamic in mind as you head into your GCSE exams. Good luck with your revision, you've got this, and keep up the great work.